Welcome to Volume 1, Episode 8 of Vermont Movement News. This is a short podcast for an emergency mobilization against this fascist straight pride that is being held in Boston on Saturday, August 31st. The purpose of this podcast is to get as many people as possible to come out and oppose this right-wing event. And if you can't come out, please contribute to the bail fund. Welcome, Elvin from Solidarity Against Hate. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
All right. The little bit of technical difficulty earlier was frustrating. So can you tell me what is happening Saturday?
So Saturday is going to be the Straight Pride Parade being thrown by a group called Super Happy Fun America. And I cringed through saying that. But they are actually a rebranding of the local fascist umbrella group called Resist Marxism. And I don't know how much you want me to get into that on the top, but Resist Marxism is a group that we've been dealing with for the past few years in Boston, and they first reared their ugly head right around August 2017 in the wake of Unite the Right down in Charlottesville. So, we've known who they are ever since then, and we've been trying to, push back against them ever since.
What groups are they? What do they believe?
So Resist Marxism is a group started by Kyle, based Stickman Chapman, who gained notoriety, back, I believe it was like 2016, 2017, and I could be wrong about that, where he was, got his notoriety for getting into fights with leftist protesters in Berkeley. For some reason, he started a group out here in Boston with some of the local Boston fascists, and now the Resist Marxism is kind of like almost an umbrella group for a bunch of other groups, including Boston Free Speech, who held that post-Charlottesville rally on the Boston Common that attracted the 40,000 protesters. Resist Marxism also includes the Proud Boys. They are also including American Guard, who is a fascist biker gang with local chapters in New Hampshire and Connecticut. And they've also been known sometimes to work with Patriot Front, who is kind of a more national fascist group, and they're another group that splintered off after Unite the Right in Charlottesville. So a bunch of bad folks.
How much violence is associated with these groups?
A lot, and even around here in New England too. Some of the more violent things that Resist Marxism especially is known for happened in Providence in August of last year and in October of last year. So in Providence, they got into open brawls with people. And in October in Providence, they actually trucked in Joey Gibson from the West Coast and a bunch of Proud Boys from all around the country. And so they brought these out-of-town fascists into Providence, and they instigated fights with peaceful protesters that led to a lot of people getting hurt.
Is there any intelligence of people like Patriot Prayer coming on Saturday?
The organizers invited a lot of people like Patriot Prayer. I'm sure if they could get like Patriot Prayer, they would. But Patriot Prayer might be licking their wounds after what happened on the 17th of this month in Portland. Some good and interesting developments coming out of Portland. They have invited Enrique Torrio, who's the leader of the Proud Boys. They've invited a biker gang called the Patriot Saints, who actually one of the members said that group might be backing out. And he said that on a public Facebook post, so that was good to see. But the Proud Boys is one of the big ones.
So what is happening on our side? What organizations are opposing this fascist event?
Lots and lots and lots of them. Almost a who's who of leftists and leftist organizers coming together from across the city and across the region to oppose this thing and shut it down. You'll see members of the DSA out there. You'll see members of Boston Feminists for Liberation. You'll see members of Surge showing up for racial justice. There'll be the PSL out there, Party for Socialism and Liberation. You'll just see so many different kinds of leftist organizations, and it's really heartening to see. On our Facebook page, you'll see that there are, we just made a post today that we broke 800 people going on the Facebook page, and with about 2.5 thousand people interested. So I expect that there will be a lot of us out there on Saturday to shut these people down and to shut down their parade.
What type of tactics are expected?
From our side.
Yes.
So we, in Solidarity Against Hate, embrace a diversity of tactics. During the parade, we really want to kind of maintain our momentum and keep our strength up. So, one thing we're asking people to do is not, or as if they're a part of our crowd, not to instigate fights, with the fash or the police, because we don't want to spend our strength in getting into a brawl or getting arrested, because the parade route through Boston, it's not that long of one, but with the back and forth that's going to be going on, it's going to be a really long day. So we want to make sure that we have the kind of staying power to keep it going if we have to, and to make sure that if they do make it to City Hall, that we're going to follow them afterwards and make sure that they can't really settle down in a good place to celebrate. You know what I mean?
Where does it kick off, the event?
Copley Square. Oh, so that's the Straight Pride Parade is kicking off in Copley Square. To come to the counter protest, go to the southwest corner of the Boston Public Garden, and you'll see the crowd of people gathering there.
I'm not from Boston, so and a lot of our listeners aren't. Where will it end? How far is this march? Is it going to be on the Commons, or what's the end point?
Right. So if you'll picture, if you want to take a look at Google Maps, the short of it is that it's going to go from Copley Square down Boylston Street. It's going to take a left onto Tremont Street and go all the way to Government Center. But if you can, for your podcast listeners, if you can picture in like your mind's eye that it's going to start in Copley Square and it's going to just go straight past the Boston Public Garden. It's going to go past on your left side. And then it's also, after that, going to go past the Boston Common on your left side, and then it'll turn on that corner of Boston Common, and then Boston Common will continue to be on your left side, and it will continue to be on your left side all the way until you hit Park Street Station, and then you're almost to Government Center. What
are they doing at Government Center? Are they going to have some sort of rally, or is that what they want?
That's what they have planned. They're talking about having a rally. They're talking about having a big giant sound system to drown out any counter protesters. And then another interesting kind of piece is that there's also going to be kind of a counter protest that we're not really related to happening at the Boston Common, a little bit before the parade. So at Government Center, a little bit before the parade. So there might even still be like people hanging around, there from that.
Who's doing that protest and what's it about? The counter protest?
That one is called Fight Supremacy. I don't think that it's billed necessarily to be like a direct confrontation, but more info beyond that. It's called Fight Supremacy, Hands Off Our Pride. But more info beyond that, I probably couldn't give to you reliably.
What should people bring or not bring on Saturday?
Definitely bring shoes for walking, snacks and water, sunscreen probably. Throat lozenges definitely help. Feel free to bring noisemakers, anything that makes like a ton of noise. If you feel like covering your face, definitely a choice that you're open to make, that's like open to you. And then don't bring weapons or like big giant like flagpole like things that could be used as weapons. Don't like bring anything that would make you too conspicuous of a target to the police, more or less.
How aggressive are the police in these events in Boston?
Varies. They can get kind of aggressive though, and in the past they've used things like mace and tear gas. So I would say the Boston police really seem to want to project a kind of like a law and order, like we got this under control type of vibe going on. We expect there's going to be a lot of them, and that they're going to be pretty tight in protecting the fascists.
Are they likely to victimize mobility impaired people who maybe have canes or stuff like that? Is that something that Boston police does?
I mean, I don't rule out any bad behavior when it comes to cops, but if you have like canes or anything like that, I don't necessarily think that you would be targeted for having those things, but tough to say. I don't want to make that recommendation and then have it happen,
Of course. Police can be difficult. What are the rules for face covering? Is that legal in Boston?
Yeah, it's totally legal. There's going to be lots of cameras and media and the live streamers, likely on both sides, but you especially want to avoid, or you don't necessarily have to avoid, but the fascists love to live stream, and they aren't very good at doxing people, but they're willing to if they can get their hands on that information. So, just be cautious about that. And then, of course, don't do anything unwise without wearing a mask.
Yes. What about public transit in Boston that day?
So public transit's the closest public transit stop to get to where we're going to be starting off is Arlington Station, and that's on the Green Line. You can take any Green Line branch to get there. There's also, if you want to come in on the commuter rail, Back Bay Station is pretty close to where we'll be starting. Or if you want to come on the Orange Line, Back Bay Station would also be the stop.
Is there good parking out on the boundaries of Boston that you can then get a train to the center of Boston?
There is Riverside Station if you're coming from the west, Alewife if you're coming from the north. Coming from the south, it's like Braintree coming from the south, so that's the red line. There's also parking garages in the city that are pretty good. I won't name any for fear of anybody bad listening. There's decent on the weekends, cheap enough parking garages that you could find.
Do you have any intelligence about where the fascists are going to be parking, or if they're going to be coming in by rail?
Too sure. They're all out-of-towners. Almost none of them live in Boston, so expect them to be coming in out of town. They typically drive places. So, I expect them to find some sort of parking garage close to Copley or something.
Is there any effort to deplatform them from Airbnb like was done for American Renaissance Conference? They got them banned from Airbnb.
That's pretty interesting. And something that we'd be open to, if anybody could pass on any more information to the Solidarity Against Hate Facebook or Twitter page, we'd be interested to know. But we don't have any plans around that right now, just because for the most part these guys are semi-local. So, they'll be able to drive home after this is all over.
Okay, so they won't be staying in motels unless it's like Patriot Prayer flying in from Portland, Oregon or something like that.
Right, and we don't know too many of those people. We don't see too much of that happening right now.
Okay, so it's mostly people on the outskirts of Boston, maybe New Hampshire.
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate.
Normally, at the end of my podcast, I do a bit of a session to beg for funds so I can get computer equipment that doesn't suck and a better microphone, because my microphone sucks. But there's a bail fund for this event, so rather than pitching my Patreon, which so far doesn't have any contributors, where can people give money for the bail fund?
Yes, so we are on an app called Fundraiser. So that's Fundraiser. It's a fund, R-A-Z-R. It's called the Solidarity Against Hate Bail Fund. I'm sure you can find that if you Google it. And, we would really, really appreciate if any of your listeners contributed. And I really sincerely thank you for boosting that. That's so nice of you. Thank you.
Well, we have to stand against fascism. If we do not, the consequences will be dire.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We've been saying that for years. And so great to hear from you and from other like-minded people that we're all on the same page about it.
So is there anything else you would like to add to this interview?
No, other than thanking you and thanking for your listeners for their interest. Side by side, we will win. To let your listeners know a little bit, the Straight Pride people put out a poll today because I think they're having trouble gauging interest. So if I could dish for a little bit, the Straight Pride parade blew up it's like national, international, even international news. And they have a lot of play on their Facebook page, lots of comments, lots of reactions, stuff like that. But a lot of it is from people from all around the country or maybe all around the world and not necessarily from around here. And I don't think that they've been able to convert all of this interest into actual on the ground organizing capacity. So they did a poll today saying who's coming to the Straight Pride parade and with a bunch of options and stuff like that. And the yes column, as of a couple of hours ago, hadn't broken 60 people yet.
Wow.
Still hasn't, my friend just said. So they still, according to this poll, 60 people going to the Straight Pride Parade on the Fash side. If you take a look at our post, today we posted that we have 800 going. And I know I said that before. I just want to keep saying it. We've got 800 people going. If we get 800 people in the streets on Saturday, that's a win. That's a win on its own. And we will translate those 800 people into shutting this fucking parade down. We'll shut it down.
Yep. And my crew has not said we're going, but we are going to be there.
Fantastic.
So, excellent. I guess I will see you on Saturday.
See you on Saturday.
Thank you very much, and I'm going to try to get this podcast up as soon as possible. See you Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, it was great talking to you, and I will see you on Saturday.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, bye.
That about wraps up this episode of Vermont Movement News. Please attend the counter-protest in Boston if you can. If you cannot, please consider donating to the Bail Fund. To find more information about the event or Bail Fund, find Solidarity Against Hate-Boston on Facebook or Twitter, or search for Straight Pride is Hate Pride on Facebook. I hope to see you there. Good luck.